think it generally is the best thing I've done from my health perspective ever, and I would recommend it to anyone.
Welcome back to this edition of Lose to Win the podcast with myself, Ben, and I've got Josh here with me. How you doing, Josh? Are you okay?
I am very good, thank you. How are you? You've been away for 2 weeks.
Mate, I've had the best time. I'm good to be back. Thank you. I've missed being here. It's nice to be back. Nice to see your happy, smiling, shining face.
Yeah, you mean the shine off the top of my head, right? That's what you actually mean.
Yeah. But no, been good, mate. Good. We have a very special guest with us this week. We have one of our very own Super Purples, and the super weight losing, amazing man that he is, Mr. Matthew Waterman. Good evening, Matthew.
Evening, Ben. You all right?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Very well. Good to be here.
Excellent. Great to have you on, mate. And we're looking forward to hearing your story. Relatively new to this whole process, so it'll be interesting to get your take on it all as a newbie coming in this season, or to the end of last season, only the last couple of games, wasn't it? But this is your first full season, so that'll be interesting. Joshy, how's your week been?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Could be better, could be worse. You know, on the right track, doing the right things.
Yeah.
Just hoping for the progress to come, which I'm sure it will do.
Good.
Yeah.
And how did you enjoy stepping in or standing in for good old Steve?
Yeah. It's entertaining, I'll tell you that. No one can hide from you when you do that. That's the thing. And some people sheepishly walk up to the scales going, "Oh no, he's just a guy I chat to on the sideline. I don't want this." It's all right when it's Steve because you can hide it, but
especially when they're all stripping down to their pants, right?
Yeah, we did have to have a few leave it there, mate. Thank you. No more moments in the weight room.
It's quite
Liam's daughter was there as well, so we had to be extra careful.
She's used to it, bless her.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was good. It was fine. No hiccups. Nothing went wrong as such, which is always good for my end. And we, as I'll get to in the roundup in a second, we did okay. So.
Yeah. Well, I as I say, as you said, sorry, I have been away on holiday, and as my team know, I've been away on holiday because I've spoken about it quite a lot. But you know, I've enjoyed it. It's been great. I was looking forward to it a lot, and it was everything it should have been. And I did overindulge a little bit in certain areas, but this week firmly back on the wagon and doing okay so far. So I will probably be up on Friday. It's a strong possibility, but hopefully by not as much as I thought it could have been. So yeah, so fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. But a great time away. The weather was good, company was good, and that's what it's all about. So yeah, happy days.
Good, very good. How was your week then, Matt? All right.
Yeah, it's so far so good. I mean, I'm a bit of a weird week at the minute because I'm in and out of work dealing with kids and childcare and things like that.
Oh, so mate, yeah.
No idea what day it is today.
No. Some holidays, absolute nightmare, right?
Yeah, I had the kids yesterday because my wife was working, and I spent all today thinking it's Monday, and everyone that works me right, it's actually Wednesday. I'm so confused right now. I'm going to turn up the wrong day at the wrong place. We're going away this weekend just for a weekend away camping with the in-laws, which we're actually going on Friday. And I've got to come back from Broadstone sort of way.
That's commitment, mate.
And then go there afterwards, grab some. So my week's all up in the air, but it's all right. The scales are saying nice things to me at the moment, but it's not surprising. Obviously, we had the 11s on Sunday, which was good fun. Played yesterday, played tomorrow, play Friday. So if I'm not going to jump out of something very tall, I think.
Well, you've done it every week, I think, so far this season, right? You've been down here every single week.
Yeah. I've not had increase yet, which is good. There's been a few close calls. I've been worried a few times. My scales at home lie. Categorically 100 lies. So they've shown sometimes I've even been up and I've gone to weigh and I've been down a kilo and things like that. So
very trust the home ones, mate.
I am. But at the minute they're showing nice numbers, so I'm hoping for good things.
Good news, buddy.
Good.
I have every faith.
Yeah, so do I, especially how we'll come to it, but especially how you've been doing since you've been here. So
Yeah, definitely.
full faith. We probably should get into this last week's roundup with Man v
Come
Fair. It was
on.
a week
There's
where
one. There's go. Sorry. There's one particular score I'm quite looking forward to. So you crack on.
All right, mate. All right, go on. I won't even mention it now.
No.
Well, it was a week where the top of the table changed in the final minutes of a game, but only in the Premier League, Steve should say, because he went to see his mighty Fulham, who were top of the table, at least alphabetically, for a long part of that game until they lost against Man United. Unlucky, Steve, but so again, I hope you enjoyed yourself very much. So, meanwhile, in the more important world of Man v Bournemouth, it was a week where the Blacks maintained their laser focus on the main league title, seeing off one rival while seeing another falter, essentially. Us yellows, as we should say. Bit of Fulham-like, really, with the finishing line in sight. As the results will go, the one you're looking forward to, I guess, is the first one I'm going to read. So that's Purple's winning 16-1 against us Yellows.
16-1.
Yeah,
Josh.
we had a pretty poor week, to be fair. A couple of own goals here and there, and I think everyone's just starting to struggle now and needs to reset themselves ahead of the new season, which I know they fully admit. So
yeah,
and I myself, so I include myself in that. So we just need to keep going.
But you're title contenders.
Yes, well, we're still going for it. It's not like we're not going to go for it. We've just had a couple of bad weeks along the way this season that have made us falter.
Yeah, fair.
So we are, with 2 weeks left, although we're still in it mathematically, it's going to be difficult.
Wow. Go for it.
We are playing the Blacks this week anyway.
Yeah, well, there you go. That could be a big swing.
Yeah. The Blues themselves lost 12-7 against the Blacks. The Reds lost a very close one, 11-10 against the Whites. And the Oranges won 13-5 against the Greens. Depleted team numbers had an effect this week, with several teams suffering ringer penalties. In fact, I think there were 2 ringers in every game but one, and even that one had at least 1 ringer.
Mm-hmm.
But there was still room for some impressive team losses. Blacks lost another 5.2 kilos, while Whites shifted 4.7 and Oranges 4.3 kilos. Nice. Your Purples had the most men losing with 7 out of 9.
Good lads.
While Whites had the only clean sweep with 6 out of 6. So good things going that way. All of that means the Blacks have one hand on the title, or the main title. With 2 weeks to go, they have a 3-point lead over their nearest rivals. That said, us Yellows and Purples represent tough opposition for the run-in, and 2 defeats for Blacks could yet see Blues or Whites, who play each other this next week, do a Manchester United and snatch the top spot at the last gasp. This theme he puts in there, he asked me to read.
Does it on purpose, mate. He knows you can read it.
I know. Blacks also lead the other 2 leagues, though by narrow margins. Reds are the main challengers now in the Pitch League, 2 points behind, with the Blues 1 point further back, but by no means out of the race. The Scales League is closest of all, with Blues level on points with the Blacks and trailing by just 7 goals.
Wow, okay.
Into the final couple of weeks, that one. No milestones this week, but we did have 11 hat-tricks to celebrate, and nothing changed in last man standing, with yourself, Matt, John Costa and Peter Meach all continuing to lose weight like they were born to do it. So you all score a goal for your respective teams, and you, Matt, scored 2 goals this last week for your Purples, because you've got an additional goal for extending your perfect season to an unbroken 12 weeks of loss. It's mightily impressive.
Massive.
Yeah. Tom Davey leads the team of the week with a spectacular 4.4 kilos, denying debutant Josh Buxton the honour despite an excellent 4.3 kilo loss himself since last week's initial weigh-in. So huge congratulations to both. Yeah. Elsewhere, Tom Marks and Tim Winrow made the most of a 3-way tie for the 7th spot in the team, sneaking under the wire to retain their places from last week. So we have Tom Davey at the top with 4.4, Josh Buxton with 4.3. Gareth Hensby with 2.5.
Oh, Gareth.
George Geimer with 2.1. Tom Dowling with 1.9. Ravnath with 1.6. And then the 3 remaining on 1.2. That's Tom Marks, Tim Winrow, and Victor Aquino.
What, Vic? What?
Yeah, I know, right? Victor made team of the week.
What the hell? Good old Vic. Always makes me laugh when Vic actually loses weight.
Snuck in there. Yeah. All in all, it was another steady week with more than half of those who weighed in losing weight and the club moving the dials in the right direction to the tune of 13.6 kilos.
Good. That's better.
With 2 weeks to go before the end of the season, let's keep our eyes on the ball and as well as our long-term goals, I guess.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. I love that.
Yeah, so a successful week for your purples then. I know you weren't there, Ben, and it's just typical that you weren't there, of course, when they smashed us 16-1. I guess. But you're here this week, so who knows? It could be a much closer battle.
I've told the lads, I said I've come back to fuck it all up. I've not played for 3 weeks, and they've won. Oh, we did lose one, but that's because no one was there, basically. But the other two, we've been finding our way, haven't we, Matt? We were a bit slow to get going, but we've started to gel a bit more as a team on the pitch, and people have started to lose some weight, which is good.
That's it. As you say, we've finally figured out how to play as a team now, and we haven't got the regular changing of staff or sort of personnel that we've had from the first season. We didn't know who was turning up week to week, and it made it quite tricky. Yeah. Now we've got a certainly good core that's there, and obviously you might get back involved as a core member again now.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, it has been tough, but I mean, it's been tough for all the teams with summer holidays, as we know. Most teams have been depleted for most weeks. So hats off to the lads that have been able to turn up every week. But this coming season, and we've spoken about it before, I think the next season will prove to be quite a big one. I think with last man standing, because I think more people will be able to commit for longer periods of time as we come off the back of the summer holidays. So we're basically getting ourselves ready, gearing up for the new season, aren't we, mate? To hit the ground running and hopefully put on a title challenge next season.
That's the plan.
That's the plan. Whether it happens, who knows?
I thought we're going to try.
We're going to try. We're going to try. The lads are really motivated now, though, which is great. And everyone's kind of on the same page, which really helps. And so we've got our fingers crossed. I think.
As weird as it sounds, the other week when we had like 5 players or something, and was it 6 players weighed in total, and we lost the most amount of any team. I think that certainly got everyone's motivation up from our perspective of just how just a few people can make the biggest difference going. That was a big one for us, even though we ended up losing quite comprehensively.
Well, the ringers didn't help, did they? So that's always a kicker.
I think it's quite a few. It's like that, isn't it? At the moment, as we were saying about ours, we're still in a title race technically, but we also know it's going to be difficult. And if we do miss out on it, we know that we've got it in us to get there. We were top of the league for several weeks this season. Yeah. So we know we've got it in us to go, and that was off a very good start to our weight loss throughout the season collectively as a team, and we started to find our feet on the pitch as well. After the first few weeks together. So we've definitely got that together. It's just a case of us just getting back into the routine, resetting ourselves now for the next season, potentially if this one isn't going to be ultimately successful in terms of a title. But we can go from there because we know we can do it. So
that's good.
Exactly.
Blacks have just been kind of smashing it the whole time. I mean, they did wobble a little bit in the middle, didn't they? But I think they've probably been the most consistent as the league tables show. So, but as you say, they've got to play. Is it you this week? Playing Yellows this week, and they're playing us in the last week. So we could upset the apple cart, so to speak.
Come on, guys, let's do it.
Craig will be listening. You dare, you bastards!
Just collude off air. Just what we can try and do.
But you know, I mean, if they did go on to win, I mean, they've played a bit of a blinder, so fair play to them. And they've got a good bunch of lads, aren't they? Good team.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, whoever wins, to be fair, it's thoroughly deserved. But it's nice to see how competitive it has been this season. I think on the pitch, I think it's been the most competitive. I think most evenly balanced. I think it's probably ever been. Would you agree?
I'd say so. There were a couple of freak results during the season. There always are. You know,
Yeah.
a bit
Yeah.
like some weeks you don't have certain players that maybe you make a bit more of a difference than others on the pitch. Sorry, and that can show, but then it's often balanced out by the weight loss on that side of things. I think overall the pitches are pretty even. You know.
Yeah.
There aren't really. I think when everyone's around on every team, which I think especially when you go into a new season, it tends to be the case. People are freshly motivated. As we go, I know there'll be a bit in the run into Christmas where people will be missing for various parties and whatnot. But I think if you can keep that kind of core going, which most teams will have, it's pretty fair.
Yeah. So, well, this one will due. So hang on. So this next September, October, November it'll run into December a bit, won't it? So the last weeks could be interesting. Last couple of weeks could be interesting.
It finishes. I think it's like the 12th of December or something.
Right.
Around that it'll be. I think. I don't know. It could be a little earlier. It could be a little later. But I think that's the thing that's around then. So, but it's a good one, especially for Last Man. As you said, I was out of it quite early myself personally, and that was a big driver for me last season.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to getting back in Last Man
at
the start of the season and really kicking on. And I know that's what several people, not just in our team, but people around the league have said.
Yeah,
as well.
It's a big motivator, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, from myself's perspective, obviously this is my first season, really. The last one I played, I think, 3 or 4 rounds, so I had no idea what's going on. Obviously, I wasn't anything like that. So with this year, I've done my milestones. I did them early, so I've not got much else to do apart from just coming in for hat tricks. And now, obviously, the Last Man Standing is getting interesting. That motivated me for the last few weeks is just keep that going, and if I get some bonus goals for it, all the better.
Yeah, I love it, mate. It's like, milestones.
I've got my milestones early on. Got two in the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, I've done them. I've got one for next season already in the bank.
It's already there. Did it 4 weeks ago. Milestones, done it.
Well, we should probably get to that, really, shouldn't we?
We should, really. Yeah, we should.
I think we'll start, though, with the football side of things, as we generally do, Matt.
Yeah.
So at least I confirmed you were a football fan.
I am.
I've seen you wearing various football shirts. Not like I remember what was on them, to be fair at the moment. So who is your team? Who do you support?
I'm a Liverpool fan, and I have been many years.
Josh shaking his head miserably.
I was there through the not so glorious days of watching Souness ball and things like that. So, I mean,
fair enough.
When I was a kid, like the only games that were on TV was FA Cup games and things like that. So I think the first game I ever really sat down and watched properly was the '92 FA Cup final, which was Liverpool-Sunderland, and they won 2-0.
Nice.
From that day onwards, it was always a Liverpool fan for me. I think that there was another game. I think they played Portsmouth, I think, as well, that went to penalties and quarters or something, which I can remember being about 6 or 7 and wondering what was going on. Sort of thinking that this is where I want to be, what I want to be watching, what I want to be involved in. So yeah, it's been Liverpool for me since early '90s. Not really been up to Anfield as much as I want. Been a few times, but always been a fan of Liverpool.
Fair enough, mate. A glory boy, what we would call a glory boy.
Oh, it was after the glory days. Interesting. The 90s weren't great, mate. Trust me.
No, that's true. They got better towards the end, though, right?
Not really. We can work. We don't need to talk about the 90s. The early 40s weren't all that good either. There was the weird treble, which I know Josh was saying isn't worth as much as United's treble. But other than that, the noughties
No,
weren't.
to be fair, 90s was pretty Man U dominated, wasn't it, really, to be fair? Man U, Arsenal, domination of the 90s.
Yeah, it was.
And the noughties as well.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. So
10 years though, it's changed a bit, hasn't it? But
yeah.
We had,
That's the thing. You've had some success in the last decade, but in particular the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, it's been a good time to be a fan of Liverpool, and I think of football in general. You've had Pep as well doing what he's doing with City, where we can talk about all the problems with their charges and things like that. But the fact of the matter is, they've not done anything that none of us would do with the money they've got, and the football they've played has been out of this world at times.
Fair.
Well, it's good to watch any match of the day game now. It doesn't matter who's playing, almost you're going to get some entertainment. Whereas if you go back 10, 20 years, you'd watch the first game and the rest of it you'd slowly lose interest till you fell asleep on the sofa.
Yeah, certainly the last couple of games.
Yeah. The old 0-0s at the end. I noticed.
Yeah, it's true actually. I think the standard of football has, because the bigger teams and the standard of football has improved. Certainly, I think the competitiveness of what you would class as the lower league, the lower table teams has certainly come up. I think if you even watch the first games of the season that last weekend, there were some of the teams played out of their skins that you wouldn't necessarily have thought. So I think it's definitely probably the most competitive it's been for a while. So that's only good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainly. So have you got any particular favourite players? It could be past or present, or.
I mean, every Liverpool fan's going to say Gerrard at this point.
Of your age.
Of my. Yeah. But for me, the one that always stood out that I always wanted to watch and I liked watching was when we had Alonso.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Just watching somebody boss an entire game whilst moving in a little 10-yard box and not going outside it was just football I'd never seen before.
I think that's how you style your game, innit, mate?
Yeah, I don't move very much. Definitely.
I've seen you boss many a game, mate.
But I mean, I think any game I watch, I like to. I watch the midfield more than the ball and the players so much. So I'm always watching where the number 6 is and the number 8 is, and thinking that's something I can learn from. Certainly when I've been to games in the past, and I've been to a few Bournemouth games, luckily last season, I'll be going to a few this season as well, because I'm right by the stadium and I want the home points so I can watch Liverpool.
Don't say that on here, mate. You'll have them up in arms.
Done now, aren't I? Sorry, Jim.
Stealing our tickets.
But yeah, I'll sit in the stands and I'll watch the midfielders and what they're up to, and the ball can be at the other end of the pitch. I'm not interested in that in the slightest. So
nice.
That's what always draws my. So when I can watch Alonso and even Gerrard in the later period where he didn't have the movement and he could ping a ball around. So that's what's always drawn my era. And obviously we all like Torres and we all like Suarez, and they were all fun to watch, but they were just like a flash in the pan from my perspective, because there's no way I could even contemplate doing what they were doing.
How fair.
You never know. You never know.
Stevie G certainly missed Liverpool, isn't he? I mean, do you think he'll get back there at some point? Do you think he's destined to be the manager of Liverpool at some point?
No.
No?
No. No. I think
hopefully not. I think you were about to say.
No, I think he's got a lot of work to do and needs to get back into that conversation. For a while when he was at Rangers and they had their unbeaten season, and even when he was before that working with, I think, the under-19, something like that, there was a lot of talk about it, but he's sort of gone off the boil a bit, and now he's managing out in the Middle East. He's very much forgotten about, I think. So
yeah.
He's certainly got to do a stint in Europe for a good, successful 4, 5, 6 years, I think, before he's even back in that conversation.
Yeah, I wonder if he'll have the energy for it if he's out in Saudi and he's earning a ridiculous amount of money. And then do you still have the appetite when you're to do that, to come back into and try and get into Prem.
From his perspective, he'll always have the appetite for it. You know, he is a local boy, isn't he? Born and bred, and playing for the club was all he ever wanted to do. And I suspect managing the club is the next step as far as he's concerned. He's just got to get the chance to do it and earn the chance to do it, I guess, is the answer.
Yeah, fair. I bet he will at some point. A bit like Lampard at Chelsea, and probably end up the same way.
We'll see how Slot goes first. There may be a version of Christmas thing out, so this might not age well, this conversation.
Yeah, we'll see.
How about favourite memories then, as a Liverpool fan? Go on, have a few.
Champions League finals, always there.
Finals, so. Yeah.
Finals, yeah. Not the Madrid ones. We don't really like those ones, but no, obviously you've got Istanbul, and then obviously when we won it against Tottenham as well was a good memory. I remember the Istanbul one, watching it at home and wanting to turn the telly off and world off at half time, then being convinced that it will be okay, and it turned out it was.
Yeah.
You know, I think that shows football. Anyone who's not interested in football or is on the edge of football, just make them watch that game.
That was something else.
And
I remember it quite clearly. I saw that game in a pub in Scotland, and I was with a couple of Liverpool fans actually, and I was actually laughing. I was laughing at half time because it was quite hilarious, and we were going to go home early, which was probably a bonus. But then the second half happened, and it was absolutely nuts. It was incredible atmosphere in there actually, with quite a lot of Celtic fans, and I know there's the link there. So it was amazing, fantastic, and Gerrard was obviously top of his game at that point. So that was quite a game. So I'll move you on that one, mate.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're a fan of like The Overlap, the YouTube channel with Gary Neville and that, but they've literally just today released an episode with Rafa Benitez.
Have they?
Yeah. So talking to him, and I know that will come up as well. So there's an hour of listening to Rafa Benitez if you want to get on there.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously Rafa is a very different manager than we're used to at the moment. So all the people who now are Liverpool fans and growing up in like the Klopp era and even the Rodgers eras before that, when we were just scoring goals for fun, they'd be in for a shock if they go and start watching a Rafa team.
Yeah. Okay, mate. Well, that's football, and I'm sure as much as you'd love to continue talking about Liverpool, I think I will stop you here for now. No, we'll come back to it, I'm sure. Onto your kind of man v fat stuff.
Yeah.
First things first, though, I wanted to ask what your history with weight has been, because it's often we get people on here and we don't actually ask that question. It's something that everyone will have a history with weight, some form, whether they don't have any weight on them at all, whether they've struggled their whole lives. So I just wanted to get a gauge of how you've been with it throughout your life, really.
Varied. I mean, when I was a kid, I was one of those kids who I was always outside doing sport anyway. So football, I played a lot of tennis and things like that as a kid. So I was quite lucky in that respect. And I had one of those metabolisms you only get as a kid, where you could eat chocolate cake all day, every day, and you'd lose weight. So I was very much lucky in that respect. And then when I was a teenager, sort of just around GCSE age, sort of 15, 16, I got glandular fever quite badly, which drastically affected my whole body in the way that I put weight on, because I think I lost like 3 stone in about 3 or 4 weeks or something daft like that. So obviously once I was over that, I had to put the weight back on. So my body went into sort of storing fat mode, if you like. And I've always had a sweet tooth, snacking, sweet stuff all my life. I can't stop that. So with a body that wanted to put weight back on and with a sweet tooth, for the next 20 years, I just slowly increased in weight. And I was aware it was happening, but it was never bothering me so much. It wasn't a concern. I was still quite happy and I was still quite healthy, despite not playing football since I was about 20 years old, which is unfortunately 20 years ago now. So as I was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, relatively speaking. I was quite fine, but it's maybe in the last probably 6 months or so, I started noticing from a health perspective. So I've got 2 young kids, as I said earlier, and just sort of playing with them in the garden or going for a walk with them and the dog and things like that. I started to notice if there was a long uphill gradient or something like that, I was quite out of breath at the end of it, and general little warning signs like that, that I'm thinking that something should be done about it. And at the same time, that I've always had this passion for football, wanted to play football, and I sort of said to myself, as my 40th birthday was coming up, I'd like to get back into football again as something for myself and my fitness, but also to show my children that football and sport is an important part of hopefully their lives going forward, because it was a big part, is a big part of mine. The whole team sport environment and things like that, I think, are very important for children. And it seemed a bit weird for me to try and get them involved in sport without them actually seeing Daddy do sport himself. Wheezing around the garden and things like that's probably not the look in the world when you're trying to keep the opposite.
Feel your pain, mate.
I didn't reach a tipping point, if you like, where I thought enough's enough. It just came about that I wanted to get back into it for a few reasons, which I've obviously just outlined. And Man v Fat was recommended to me by a friend who I think had seen it on Facebook or something like that. And he recommended to me as we were down the pub one night, and I literally just came home and signed up straight away, paid my registration fee. I think it was a Saturday night, and Steve texted me on a Monday, said, "You're playing on Friday, off you go."
Nice.
Hope he gave you a bit more than that. That words with him.
Yeah, there was a bit more to it than that, but I mean that was the gist of how I ended up getting involved. It wasn't. So
you didn't actually know anyone at the club. You just kind of dove in as a complete newbie, as it were.
Yeah.
Which is quite daunting. How did you feel about that? Was it a daunting thing for you, or?
Very much. Very much. I had no idea what to expect from anything, from the football side of things. I had no idea what the standard of football was like. I had no idea what my standard of football was like, having not played for 20 years. I knew my fitness level would be on its arse, and it proved to be. But that's getting better now. So it was incredibly daunting. But there were guys that made it a lot easier. So obviously I joined the Blacks back then, and we had people like Jimmy and Luke and yourself, obviously, as well, Josh, all made me feel welcome onto that environment. And then it sort of just became more and more easy and comfortable from there. Everyone's been great. I've not had a single issue or concern or worry about anything to do with it. Everyone's been very supportive, and obviously I think it generally is the best thing I've done from my health perspective ever, and I would recommend it to anyone. The guy who recommended it to me is not a footballer. He wants to be, but he's not. But he's on the edge of wanting to join. I'm trying to convince him to join for his own health. I've got his wife nagging me as well to join, make him join for his health. And put him in the car with you on Friday, take him down, make him watch. He'll be fine.
Yeah, get him down to watch.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to kidnap him one day and tell him that all will be rosy. But I've loved every minute of it now, and I look forward to Fridays more than any day of the week. And we do the Thursdays and the Tuesdays as well, which is just a cherry on top as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I think it's safe to say that you have certainly embraced Man v Fat football for what it really is all about. So just tell us a little bit about your weight loss journey. So you've been here now for would be about 15 weeks roughly. So what, just over 3 months roughly?
Yeah, very beginning of May I started. So
okay, so tell us where you're at from your weight loss point of view.
I'm above the target I set myself. So I foolishly set myself a target of losing 1 kilo a week without knowing if that was achievable, if that was attainable, if I kilo over or what. No idea. I got an app. I said set a target, so I just put a target of 1, and that's how it became 1 kilo a week. I worked it out earlier. I've averaged 1.4 kilos a week lost since I started.
Wow.
Oh, that's really impressive. Yeah. What did you start on? Well, if you give us a number, mate, where'd you actually weight?
I started at 116, and I'm now dead on 95.
Jesus, mate.
Wow.
I'm
just under 20.
Very impressive.
Just under 20 kilos in.
I've lost 21.3 in, what do we say, about 15, 16 weeks, which I'm happy with.
I would be.
Yeah.
I'm aware it's not going to last forever at that sort of rate. And I'm just wondering when this tipping point's going to come of where I'll settle down to a more normal rate. But while it's still doing big-ish numbers every week, every few weeks, then I'm just going to enjoy it and see how deep I can push it.
Well, whatever you're doing is clearly working. So have you found?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you said that you found it fairly easy at the beginning. Has it changed at all? Has the way you've done things changed at all, or have you basically been doing the same things from the beginning?
Nothing's really changed for me, which is the worst thing for me to say, because I know people are curious as to how I'm getting on, how I'm doing things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing anything special. I've always had a fairly healthy diet. My wife, she's given birth to 2 children. Like all women, she's very conscious of her weight, and she's always done like Weight Watchers and Slimming World and things like that. So that generally in our house, putting aside the stuff that the kids have, has always been fairly healthy to begin with. My big problem was always portion control and snacking, also obviously alcohol and things like that. So
yes, we'll get onto that in a minute.
I thought we might. But it was always very easy for me to come home from work, have a beer, have a snack, cook dinner, eat dinner, and before I know it, I'm 2,500, even 3,000 calories a day, without doing much in the way of exercise in between. So you can probably see quite clearly how that soon adds up. So all I've really done is knock the alcohol on the head for sure, certainly in the weekdays. My snacking is much better. I mean, as Ben will testify, rather than sweets and things like that, I put pictures of Padron peppers and things like that in the group chat we have.
Packets of peppers.
Yeah, that's what I snack on now. I grill peppers and things like that. I've done air fried strawberries and things like that, which go with like a chewy sweet sort of texture.
Nice.
I've been trying to not stop it, because I don't think I can ever stop it. There's always that urge there. If I go in the cupboard and there's a half open pack of Haribo from the kids, that's the killer for me, and that's where I have to really it. But so far I've done well and not given in to them, because I think for me the team element, the not wanting to let the rest of your teammates down, has been a big influence for me as well. So when the week comes and I do post an increase, that'll be quite a hard week for me. But
well, you'll have earned it, mate. I think it's safe to say that you're doing okay. So don't beat yourself up if you do it.
So you say you've lost 1.4 kilos a week. I assume, by the way, on average, you haven't actually ever gained weight. I know, I'm not sure if you said this earlier on, but you haven't gained weight at all since you've
No, I've never put an increase in since I started. So I've always been.
Well, that alone, it's insane consistency. We were saying about this Tom Marks a couple of weeks ago, and how 50 kilos is suddenly gone.
Yeah.
Because he's just kept it going and going and going and going. Every week's been so consistent. That's amazing. Then.
So what's
your go on.
Sorry, go on, Joshy.
No, I was going to say your peppers thing. Then, is there any other things that you've turned to in the meantime as almost a substitute?
I wouldn't say a substitute. I'm a lot more aware of calories. than I ever have been at any point in my life. So, I mean, I've done the losses I've achieved have purely been through exercise and calorie counting. So,
so you work to a calorie deficit, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm allowed to achieve my target of 1 kilo a week. I'm allowed 1,700 calories a day. I'll be honest, most of the time I'm banging about 1,400, 1,500 a day. Some days are even less than that. I think today I'm on 1,100 so far.
Wow. Does that change as your weight goes down, or has that been the deficit from the beginning?
It's changed slightly. I think when it first started and I was heavier, it was about 1,800 and not a lot. So it does vary as my weight increases, and I don't offset my exercise against it either. So
okay,
yeah, my steps against it and have more calories, but I'm not ever at a point where I'm over calories. I mean, I do have treats, so most Friday nights now after football, I'll have a beer and I'll have something that I've wanted all week that way. And I think that's another motivator for me to sort of stay clean and healthy, if you like, through the rest of the week, is I know there'll be something on a Friday that makes it worthwhile. But I mean, even then during the week or the weekends, I still go out and eat. I mean, again, on our chat, I put a picture of a massive shoe bun that I had on Saturday night. What was that?
Delicious.
Brief for, but
that's a perfect example, though. I think that what you're saying is a perfect example about how this system program can work, because you're not sort of allowing yourself to completely cut everything out. You're doing everything but with a bit of moderation, and I think that's the really important message to send about this process, is that you can achieve really good results by just doing simple things, and the way that you've done it, for me, the way that you have done you are going about your journey is kind of the ideal way that I would expect or ask people to think about it, is by making those small sustainable changes that allows your body to lose the weight, gradually, and then you've got much more chance of it staying off long term. And so much so, mate, that I've decided to take a leaf out of your book. I've never really calorie counted. I've always just made simple changes. Of course, I have a rough idea, but I've never physically and properly counted it. I tried and got bored of it, and I stopped. So, but since my sort of weight loss thing has slowed a little bit, I've got to try something different. So off the back of the holiday, once I've started again, I'm still doing the 16/8 fast, which works for me.
Yeah.
But I've started to properly check my calorie intake, because I was fine. I was thinking about why I wasn't particularly losing. I was losing a bit, but nowhere near like what I probably should be on a weekly basis. I was like going up a few hundred grams, down a few hundred grams, whatever. But it's that, and I've talked about it before, and that's the kind of secret calories that you don't always think about. So the odd chocolate here, or the extra biscuit there, or a couple of sweets here and there. When you actually look at the calories, before you know it, you can have easily popped in another 500 calories without actually even thinking you've actually eaten anything or drunk anything. So I'm making an absolute conscious effort, starting for this week, of putting down what my calorie intake is and trying to work to a deficit. And I'm going to see how that goes over the next couple of weeks. And hopefully, if that works, which I'm hoping it does for you, that we'll take that into next season, and fingers crossed we'll see some results. Because I've struggled for the last probably year. I've struggled for the last year, where my weight has just kind of plateaued completely. And I've gone up a little bit, down a little bit, but nothing major. And I really want to try and get down to my target weight, which is another sort of 9-10 kilos off. So I'm going to try and use your method and see how it goes. Of course, we'll keep the odd craft ale in there every now and then as a little treat. Matt has a little secret, you see. So Matthew, he used to create his own beer. He had a craft ale brewery.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, please go further detail.
Again, it was just another silly idea between me and some mates, where the three of us, we've all we're all big craft beer fans. So we've been to various countries in Europe and had beer there. So we've been Berlin, Brussels, Copenhagen, Amsterdam, places like that, to have good quality beer. And we thought, it was probably going back, it was before, probably 7 or 8 years ago, we decided to set up our own brewery, make our own beer, doing proper brewing techniques, so all grain techniques. So we were buying hundreds of kilos of grain and hops, and we had 100-litre fermentation vessels and things like that. We built a shed at the end of my mate's garden. I think it was about 9 by 3 metre shed, which was the brewery. So we brewed some beers down there with the hope of maybe making a business out of it one day. But life sort of got in the way. And we had to stop, essentially. We still got all the equipment in a lockup, actually. So one day it might get started again.
Start it up again, mate. I'll come and give you a hand.
But at one point we had about 100 litres of this god-awful mango beer we were working our way through.
The thing is, you've got to drink it as well, right? You've made it, you've brewed it, you want to drink it.
Oh, yeah, and it was so cheap as well. I mean, I think a bottle of beer set us back about 30p by the time you costed it all out.
My days.
Wow. But it had a kick to it, so it's definitely something that we all enjoyed, and we may well visit again one day when we're older. We've got more time and the kids aren't around as much. But
fair play.
That's one of my little secrets. Is I used to own a brewery that didn't do anything.
So have you found that then with, because you say you like literally sort of mainly cut the alcohol out during the week, have you found that difficult to do, or is that something that you sort of came quite easy?
Varies. It varies. So on the whole, it was just breaking that habit. Once I'd broken the habit for a week or so, I didn't want to get back into it. So I can quite easily not worry about it now. And as I've said, Friday nights I'll treat myself to a beer, and I'll go and buy what I would consider a nice couple of beers for that. So I'll spend some proper money and make it an event. So it's something to look forward to rather than just going to the corner shop and buying whatever 4-pack they got on special offer sort of thing. So
they taste so good, don't they, on a Friday night, especially on a victory.
No wonder you look forward to it so much.
like a 16-1 victory. Just that the taste of that cool ale. But I think you're right. I think you're right, because it is habitual. Whatever people say, it's habitual. So getting home and having a beer at the end of the day or whatever, you can get out of that habit of doing that. You don't need those extra calories, I guess, on a daily basis. It just, if you save them up for the weekend, you can have a couple on a Friday, Saturday night, and it's more enjoyable, I think. I've certainly found that as well.
Yeah, and that's the killer. It was that habit, which, touch wood, I've broken that habit now. I mean, I've still got the beers that I've had in the fridge for a month, which would be unheard of for me. It was never a problem. I never had a problem with the beer.
No, it's just enjoying it, isn't it?
Yeah, that was it. It was too easy to come home and have something, whatever. Get a barbecue at the weekend, and before you know it, you're 2 or 3 deep, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So just breaking that habit, and that was definitely one of the biggest changes that I made from the very start. I think that showed, and certainly the first few weeks, where I was posting some fairly big numbers, and that was just knocking those habits almost cold turkey instantly, and then everything else sort of morphed into it from there. I mean, I know you've touched just now, Ben, and we spoke before about the fasting, which I've said to you, I sort of accidentally do, because I've never been a fan of breakfast. Never. As a kid, I wouldn't eat breakfast. I wouldn't even eat lunch as a kid. I'd quickly smash my sandwiches on the bus on the way home so my mum wouldn't shout at me when I got home. For 30 years, I've only ever eaten between like 3 o'clock and 8 o'clock at night. And even as an adult now, I don't do breakfast. I'll eat my lunch generally 12:30, 1 o'clock. But kids are in bed and the house is normal again, it's probably 7:30, 8 o'clock before I sit down and have my dinner. And I do very little after that in terms of eating. I do very little before lunch in terms of eating. So I've accidentally done the fasting thing half-heartedly without even knowing I was doing it for all these years as well.
Yeah, well, we've said to a few people, if you think about it, let's assume you sleep 8 hours a night roughly. You don't have breakfast within an hour of waking up, and you probably don't eat within a couple of hours of going to bed. There's already 11 hours there. If you just stretch it back to dinner just a couple more, even you don't even have to do that necessarily. You've already got your 12-hour, 14-hour window, whatever it is you feel you need to to fast. Essentially, you're not even really fasting. And in particular for like you, Matt, where I don't really have breakfast. I always never have breakfast. It's not something I've ever felt. I don't know. It just doesn't make me feel very well. It makes me feel ill. So so I'm always, lunch is my first thing I would eat anyway. Yeah. So, and I'm not eating really late in the evening. So I'm already fasting without really considering it.
Yeah, I think you're right. A lot of people are accidentally, just from their natural eating habits, doing something of a similar thing to the fasting. So there's a lot to it maybe, but it's not something I've consciously decided to do. It was only when Ben and a few others explained to me how it worked, I thought, actually, I'm accidentally doing sort of 90% of this already.
Yeah.
Is there anything else or anything particularly you still struggle with today? I know you've been so consistently done so well, but there's bound to be a few things here and there that you probably think.
On the whole, I'm pretty good. It's still the sweet tooth, and the sweet tooth will always be my Achilles heel. I know we've talked about beer and things like that, but I can go without that for a month, no problems at all. It's, as I said, if I walk into the house and go in the kitchen cupboard and there's a half pack of sweets or something like that, I'll nick a few out of it. And even today, I'll catch myself doing it. That's my habit that I probably never break, and it's hard to substitute that one because I've just got a sweet tooth. I want to eat something sweet most hours of the day, so that's the one I struggle with.
Yeah. What do you do when you get to the really bad stages where you're really feeling the craving? Do you give in a little, or do you just?
Yeah, because I can do it on the calories, which is the thing. So I'm not doing it every night. I mean, going back to sort of the bad days I had, if you like, it would be nothing for me to sit on the sofa and eat a mega sharing bag of Skittles or something like that, and I'd be doing that maybe 2 times a week, 3 times a week sort of thing. So it's that stops immediately. But I mean, even things like there are sweets you can have which don't have a huge number of calories in them, so they fall well within my remit. So I can have like a pack of Chewits, or I can have, I mean, Ben's probably seen one of the things I tend to do on a Friday after weigh-in is I'll eat a little bag of mini Haribo sweets. That's a sugar rush to get me through, but also
absolutely
a little perk for me. So, in moderation, I can still do things like that, and I still log the calories. I still count it as part of my diary, and it's still all there, and it's all above board. It's not like I'm sneaking it behind my own back, if you like. And that's the thing for me. I'm very aware now of what I am eating. So when I go shopping, I'm scanning everything as I go with my phone to see what calories are in there and working out, because I roughly know now what I'll consume for lunch, dinner and things like that. So I know most days I've probably got 150, 200 calories in my pocket at the end of the day if I want to use it for something. So if I want to go and have a little treat or a pack of sweets or a choc ice or something like that, I've got the ability to do that now because of the work I've put in through the rest of the day. So I can still eat what I want.
I love that.
I often think, just from hearing, because you're always in a similar way, you've got a similar thing to a few people have said previously, in that if you're not actually limiting yourself, you limit yourself, but as long as you're not denying yourself those things, actually it becomes much easier to do consistently, to keep away from those big binges in particular, but also because you can fit them in your day. It's not things that you need to get rid of. It's just a way of trying to finding a way to fit it in moderation into your current routine. And that's how you build the consistency, because I think sometimes there's a temptation for people to remove those kind of things entirely, and then they'll end up going 2 or 3 weeks brilliantly without doing it, and then there'll be suddenly a big binge, and then comes a bad week on the scales, because it's not just then that one day, it's the next day, and it's the day after that where they're just giving in a bit. And I've been prone to that previously, I fully admit that. So, I think that's what I've heard quite consistently from people who have been so consistently successful, is that it's allowing yourself those things 2 or 3 times a week, or however many times a week it is, within moderation, that keeps you motivated and consistent throughout the rest of it. And then that breeds the weight loss, and also then you don't fall off the wagon so easily, I would say. Just from what I've heard, again, from others.
Right. The good habits are the key for me to get into. I mean, I said earlier that my wife has done all the fad diets, if you like. She's done the Weight Watchers, she's done the Slimming World, and I never agreed with them. They were obviously going on in the house that I live in, but I would never partaked in them deliberately, so because I didn't think that they promoted a good attitude towards food. I think they served a purpose, and they still do. A lot of people do a lot of good results on them, don't get me wrong, but I think they tend to be the people who don't have a strong understanding of food to begin with. So they do as they're told, they get a result, they don't question it, and they're okay. And, my wife isn't a cooker, but she always struggled with the Slimming World, the Weight Watchers, things like that. She was doing them, she was paying for them, she was going to the meetings, but she wasn't doing huge numbers in terms of loss. And since she's obviously seen what I've been doing, she's knocked all of that sort of stuff on the head, and she's doing exactly the same as me, just without the exercise. So she's on a fixed calorie amount that she's always under, and for her the biggest difference was she could actually have the things that she wasn't allowed before. So she's a big breakfast, so she'll come down in the mornings and she can actually have bacon and eggs and avocado and a muffin and all of these things that she enjoys, and she's allowed them. She can count the calories, and that's perfectly healthy for her. Whereas before, on whatever diet she was sticking to, she was very, very regimented, and she was losing motivation, losing the will to stick with it. Whereas now, she's very much enjoying what she's eating more.
And how's she finding it? Is she managing to lose weight? Is she?
Yeah, she's doing well. As I said, she doesn't do the exercise that I do, but although she does tend to look after the kids and the dog more, which, as she will say, is probably harder work than I ever do to begin with. But yeah, I mean, she's lost well over a stone in the last, I think, 6-8 weeks, something like that. So, she's plodding along very well as well. And it goes with what you're saying, Josh. She's now got into the same good habits that I'm hopefully getting into. And she's reaping the rewards from it, just as a result of being aware of what we're all eating. And I think that's only going to be a good thing as well for our children, who, whilst all kids want to eat chicken nuggets and things like that, they also eat the meals that we eat, and if they're healthy to begin with, I think that's only going to help them. I mean, obviously, the other thing is, because I'm a food person as well. I like cooking. I enjoy eating good food. Both my children have been taught by myself and by my mother as well, who taught me to cook, how to cook. So they've got a good relationship with food from an early age, which again I think is important for them to understand food. And the sort of foods you can and can't eat regularly, and how it influences your body as a child, a person, and anything you are. I think that's an important thing for them to learn. And obviously they've seen that mummy and daddy are doing the right things. They're going to want to do the right things.
Absolutely. Very admirable young sir. You're an inspiration to us all.
Yeah, indeed.
No,
So. All right. I like the, obviously, as we preach, the not denying yourself the things, but making sure you have them in moderation and keep it consistent, essentially, from there.
Yeah, that would be
the main thing.
Take that away, don't go cold turkey on everything, because I don't think it works. I think, as you said, Josh, you fall off the wagon.
Yeah, totally.
You quickly get bored of it.
Your consistency. I'm just looking at the top scorer scenario in our Man v Fat league. And top score is a tricky one for Man v Fat. It's well documented. We've spoken about it before, that it really is more. It rewards consistency in sort of turning up and consistently losing weight, etc., etc. But it's safe to say that you are currently, from a weight loss point of view, top of the top scorer league, with a loss percentage of just over 15%, 15.03%, and that's this season alone.
That's actually out of date, obviously, because I can't claim the milestones. I'm actually a lot higher than that, but yeah.
But you're only off the top from Chris, because Chris has hit maintenance as stayed in maintenance, so he's scored more, so he's got a higher weight score, but his actual weight loss percentage is 7.18, which is nothing to be sniffed at, of course. Chris, being on last week, told us his story, and quite an amazing story it is. So, but I think it's interesting that that loss percentage. I don't think. You correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, but I think that's the highest percentage in one season that I think there's ever been. I can't think of anyone,
especially with 2 weeks to go, which is what makes it even more impressive. I think it's more. I think it's one of the highest. It would be at the end of the season.
Steve would probably be able to clarify that.
Today, I think it would be very, very close, but. I don't know historically, but I know we've seen 14% and a bit more maybe, but I don't think I've seen anything 15. I expect it probably to be in the 16 by the time we come to the end of the season. So
absolutely
higher than that, you reckon? Higher than that.
But
I was going to say,
I think that's
how much did you lose in the first few weeks though? Because obviously that's this season alone, so it's not counting your total loss.
The first few weeks was I didn't get my 5% for the first week of the new.
Yeah, he got it in the first week.
Yeah.
Right. And then you hit your 10% about 4 weeks later.
Yeah, and I hit 15
a couple of weeks ago.
3 or 4 weeks ago.
So technically,
you're not going to hit 20 before the end of the season.
What would you do? Hang on a minute. How does that work? Right? So, let's throw that out there, right? If Matt hits his 20% in the next couple of weeks, how does he carry over 2 milestones into next season and scores them in the first week and then can't score again in next season, or what?
That's my understanding of it, which I'll be honest has been a motivation problem for me for the last few weeks when I realised that it was possible. Because I'm in a situation now where, I don't want to sound ungrateful like that, but I'm 2 kilos off 20%. As things
2 kilos?
Which I could hit that this season if I try. But I don't obviously get anything for hitting it this season. If I'm not careful, I can walk into next season with 2 milestones already achieved, and I've got the whole season with no stones to pay for. So all I've got is last man standing and hat tricks and things like that. So that's been playing on my mind the last few weeks, if I'm honest, as well.
That's an interesting one, isn't it? It might be worth a chat to Steve about that, because I'm not sure how it works if you carry one over. Or have you asked him? Have you spoke to Steve about it?
Only when I got the 15, and he said it would carry over.
Yeah, because I don't know if you carry over 2, if that means you can't then score any more the following season, because you're right, that would demotivate you.
I'm then looking at stacking things up for the third season, which I don't get there or not. that is a weird one for me that I do probably need to speak to Steve about, and just to see how it works out, because otherwise I'm going to have to drink lots of water on Fridays.
What's your end goal then, mate? What do you see? Are you just basically taking it day by day and seeing how you go? Or have you got an end goal in sight? Have you got a perfect weight?
The app that I use, you have to give it an end weight. And when I set up, I don't have one. I still to this day don't have one necessarily. So I just worked out what the highest weight I could be with a healthy BMI.
Okay.
Which is what I've put in there. That's what's given it the sort of 1 kilo a week loss, because I stupidly said that I wanted to be there just after Christmas.
Okay.
Because I had to give it a date.
Right, fair. Yeah.
It wasn't a conscious decision, both in terms of weight and time frame. I'm just at the point where if I can keep a healthy average and I'm healthy doing it, I'm not unhealthy with what I'm eating. I'm averaging maybe 1,500 calories a day, sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more, but I don't feel unhealthy doing that. As long as I can carry on doing that, I'll carry on doing that.
Fair play, mate. Fair play.
If I get to a point where I've got to eat some more, I'll eat some more.
I'm
perfectly happy with what I'm doing, and the results, as far as I'm concerned, are there. I'm happy with how it's progressing. I'm just going to go as long as I can until
keep doing, mate. Just keep doing what you're doing, because you're absolutely smashing it. And I know all of us purples are amazed at what you're achieving, and quite inspired, like I said, by it.
It's not just all the purples; it's the entire league, mate.
Yeah. So it's quite an inspiration, mate. And like I say, you've totally embraced what this is all about, and I think people could do a lot worse than have a chat to you and listen to you, and take some advice from what you're doing, because I think certainly from my point of view, it appears that you've got it absolutely bob on, and you're doing everything you should be doing. And I'm super pleased and super proud to have you on my team, buddy. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you. Not only that, but you're also a beer drinker and you play golf. So happy days, buddy. Happy days.
Yeah, I do. Guilty.
Well, we're super glad to have you in the league, mate. So honestly, and not just more than a welcome addition. As we said before, an inspiration to the rest of us, really.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm loving every week we're doing it. This is perfect for me. I'm enjoying everything. I playing on Fridays, the midweek stuff, the 11s, whatever. I'll turn up as long as I can walk. I'll turn up and play.
Yeah. I had this weird thought the other day. Actually, this sounds ridiculous, by the way. So it's a bit like a dream. But what I said to myself, I wonder what would happen if I was suddenly unable to play football to a level, like I had prosthetic limb or something. Would I still be coming to Man v Fat and playing football as much as I could? And I genuinely thought to myself, yes, I would be. I actually genuinely would be. It would be a challenge for me to keep going.
Fair play, mate.
Okay, that first scales weigh-in would be nice, and that'd be an all-time rate loss. Yeah. But just
I was sat in A&E waiting for an X-ray on my wrist. I was thinking to myself, I wonder how much a wrist cast weighs, and can I convince Steve to offset it against my weight? And I googled what they weighed. So I already had it lined up for. Well, I may have gained, but I've got X amount of plaster on my wrist, so surely
that's a fair comment, mate.
Didn't come to fruition, luckily, so it's fine. But I'm with you on that one, Josh. I'll be there every day.
Well, thank you for that, mate.
Thanks, buddy.
Inspiration, and as we said, and I really don't think we can say any more or praise you highly enough. And thank you for just telling us your story for now. Yeah,
it's been a pleasure, mate. And
keep it up, and we're looking forward to seeing the end of your journey, or the rest of your journey. So.
Yeah, well, I'm not going anywhere. Don't worry, I'll be here for a long time.
Good man.
In terms of this pod, if you stick around, mate, we're going to I did actually want to ask you how you feel that your side are going to do this season, the mighty Liverpool. How you feel that it's going to go?
It's a tricky one, that. It's if you ask me on the first half showing against Ipswich, we're in trouble. If you ask me on the second half showing, everyone else is in trouble.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle. It's looking like that we're not going to sign anyone to change things up. But by the same token, who do you buy in the market that's better than what we've already got? There are players we've got who definitely have underperformed, and there'll be hopefully some big seasons from them this year. So, I mean, if we're not in the conversation after Easter like we were this year just gone, I think it would be deemed a failure, if you like. But I think a lot of people hopefully got their sensible hats on and realise that this isn't the same team it was last season. And I think
we've lost Klopp as well, which is a big thing. So
that's it for us. That's what I mean when I say it's the same team, but it's a different team, if you like. The football that was played just against Ipswich and even in some of the pre-season games was completely different to what we've been used to and we've been blessed with for the last 6-7 years under Klopp, of just attack at full speed and hope for the best, whereas this is a lot more calm and methodical.
Yeah. I was surprised. I was surprised he's moved Carvalho out, because he had a fantastic pre-season, and I was really surprised that he's gone on loan, or he's actually been sold. He's gone on loan, isn't he, for the season?
No, he's sold.
They sold him.
Yeah.
See, that's really surprised me. I don't understand that. But I suppose if you got, he plays on the right. Does he play on the right? So you got Salah. Salah's the first choice there, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that's the problem. I suspect that they've already got some plans to replace Salah.
Yeah.
So he's obviously fitted into those plans for whatever reason. But yeah, that one was a surprise. But by the same token, a lot of the deals we've done in terms of sales have been good. We got, I think, 15% of the Solanke money.
Yeah, decent bit of business, that.
Yeah, and we sold Clark, who's just an academy guy, has gone to Salzburg for like 10 million or something like that.
Wow.
With a decent buyback clause in there as well. So if he does become a player, then we've got him coming back on the cheap. So there's been a lot of behind the scenes sort of quiet transfers, if you like, for money coming in. We've just got to figure out who the hell to spend it on.
Well, I think that the squad is pretty good, though. And that, although there's always going to be an element of question mark about the midfield, you need a DM, but there are no DMs like Rodri, for example, just available. And everyone needs that caliber, especially considering how good your midfield, even now, how good your midfield is going to be. So it's either a Rodri caliber or nothing. So how are you going to get that in? It's not that easy. So
for us, I think it's a big season for Gravenberch in the middle, who's Ajax schooled, and there is definitely a player there. So he could well be maybe not the answer. He's not a destroyer, if you like, sort of thing, but he could have a good season as the number 6. We've got McAllister, who can play that little bit further back as well. So there are definitely options, seeing as it looks like we're not going to get anyone in to fit that role as a dedicated, if you like, mini Rodri or something like that. But I mean, Rodri, when he first came into the City team a few years ago, certainly wasn't highly thought of.
No.
Yeah.
So
I guess so.
Maybe another one.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to Liverpool, and I guess top 4.
He said that. I guess How are you feeling about United, though, buddy? What are your feelings around the old United situation? Go on, come on. Give you a bit of time on Man U. Go on.
No, I won't spend too much. I think they'll be fine all season. I don't think they're going to be spectacular. I don't think they're going to be awful. I don't think they're going to be as bad as last season. I think they'll be a little bit more consistent, especially if they can field a consistent team, which is one of the biggest issues they've had. Especially now they've got in an extra a couple of good centre backs in. So I think that'll be good.
He's a player. How you've got him for what you've paid for him, I'm amazed that no one knocking the door down for that one.
Yeah, that's what I was surprised about, that Delict. I think.
Oh yeah.
He. I'm quite surprised about that, to be honest. Not going to lie.
If he'd have
and
rocked
then,
up at our place as Van Dijk's replacement, I wouldn't be complaining.
Yeah,
I
totally.
think I said this on the pod last week or a couple of weeks ago. I think if De Ligt had signed for Liverpool, you'd be saying you've solved you could have a title challenge. You solved the one maybe problem next to Van Dijk, and it's like,
Yeah.
and yet I'm not saying it's the media, but it's just the way it will be perceived, because Man United had big problems there, let's be honest. So and Maguire looks like he's going to stay. He doesn't want to leave. Lindelof's the same. He doesn't want to leave. So they'll be good backups if they're willing to be backups. But,
I did see this week that Phil Jones has retired.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
That is a real shame. That's a real shame.
I was hoping to see him out there for United again this season. Sadly not.
Yeah, I did say to these guys on the sideline, by the way, the Tuesday or something, I was listening to Wayne Rooney talk about a story about how Van Gaal came into Man United and how they did penalty. Whoever was decision to be penalty taker was based on their pre-season, and Rooney had missed one just before the start of the season, so he was demoted to the back of the list for pre-season. So they had Phil Jones. Number one penalty taker for Man United going to start the season, and they had Van Persie and Rooney in the team.
I love that. That's amazing.
It's not my story, I should say, but I thought that's hilarious, to be honest.
Well, good luck in your retirement.
He's still got a place in our hearts, though.
Absolutely,
the Phil Jones Award for us that lose to win.
Yeah,
and
very important award.
Just that hilarious heading tackle, which I still think is one of the all-time greatest challenges ever.
I saw a brilliant video, and there was a brilliant video meme of him today. I'll send it to you. It made me laugh a lot.
Anyway, overall, I think Man United will be fine.
Good.
They've won. Let's be honest, they've won 2 trophies in 2 years, and people were saying how bad their manager's been. And
very good point.
They've been.
Yeah,
so,
very good point.
I think if they can replicate anything like they did 2 years ago, top 4, maybe a trophy, but I doubt it's less likely. But just to get closer,
that's what it's all
get
about.
Closer is what the idea is, and I'd be happy with that. I think that's completely possible, but it's going to be tough. Let's be honest. There are a lot of good teams around there.
Yeah.
Even I think, as you say, Matt, even if Liverpool don't have the same kind of season, they'll be there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And then you've got, even with Villa in Europe, they've got a decent squad. Newcastle aren't in Europe this season, and they've got, so they've got a chance. You've got, people are writing Chelsea off because of just how mad their club is, but you never know.
Completely bonkers, isn't it?
Spurs as well. So there's a lot in there. I'm probably missing someone.
Yeah, I think that's I think after you get the top 3, so you got your City, your Arsenal, and your Liverpool. I think most people are fairly set that if the wheels don't fall off, that's the top 3. Or unless City get a billion deduction, that's how it's going to finish. But trying to what comes between 4th and 8th, just good luck to you. God knows who's going to be there. It could be anyone.
Yeah, it's true.
True. Someone like I don't want to say a Bournemouth necessarily, but like a Bournemouth, putting a run in and sneaking a 7th or an 8th spot and really upsetting some people.
Yeah. I don't know what you guys felt, but I was quite quite impressed with how the promoted teams did at the weekend. I know Ipswich went down 2-0 in the end, but they had a great first half and they really came out and fought. And Southampton were really unlucky against Newcastle. They had chance after chance after chance. Okay, Newcastle defended it really, really well. But it's nice that they come up. It's nice to see the clubs that come up and are able to compete rather than getting hammered. Like a few years back, the promoted teams, you knew that they were going to get absolutely dicked on the first day of the season, and for the most part, you knew that was going to happen all season long.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is like that anymore. I genuinely feel like the teams that come up do have a better understanding of how to compete. And Leicester were outstanding against Tottenham. I thought they gave them too much respect in the first half, but the second half I thought they were by far the better team. So good to see.
Yeah, I would say I think it was really good to see. The Southampton one's maybe a bit of a false one considering they're an extra man for
fair.
But I would say that, to be fair, they put Newcastle under all the pressure in the world, and that's not always the case, even with 10 men.
No.
Playing against 10 men. So encouraging signs. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think teams like Forest and that could struggle.
Yeah.
Forest are the one you
And
worry about, aren't they?
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, I think it depends, because if Leicester get their points deduction, they're going to struggle as well. But not.
Do we know
not-
what that's
I
going to
don't
be?
think
Do they know, have an idea of what it'll be?
6 to 10 maybe points, something like that.
Ooh, that's
I
harsh.
think.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, who knows on that one? Quickly then, one Ben QPR.
Come on then.
Really
Queen's
soon.
Park Rangers, the mighty. Okay, so so the first game of the season didn't go particularly well for us. We lost to West Brom 3-1, which I didn't think we actually played that badly, but we gave away some really simple goals. Just not being literally set play, easy ball over the top, back post. Just not defended particularly well. So that was a little bit upsetting, but we'd had quite a good pre-season and I was fairly confident that we'd play all right. And then, of course, second game, Sheffield United away. I was like, wow, I don't expect to get anything out of this. And lo and behold, we were 2-0 down after about 15 minutes. But then there was the resurgence and they really put a shift in and you know, they came back and Colback got sent off, so we're down to 10 men, and we ended up bringing it back to 2-2. And the spirit that they showed and the way they played, I think, was really, really commendable. And I think Cifuentes has got a good squad of players. We've made some good signings this summer as well, and we've got another one coming in today. I think we've spent $3.5 million on an attacking midfielder from somewhere Austria or somewhere Denmark, a young Danish player, I think, Madsen, something like that. And we've made it a couple of we managed to pick up the young lad who was at Blackpool last season, who was their player of the year or fans player of the year. So it's good signs, and I'm confident that could well be there or thereabouts, pushing for a playoff place this season. I'm hoping. I have strong hopes, and that's confidence in us, but based on the way that we played for the second half of last season, going into this season. You know, Marty's had the summer to sort of get his way across to the lads and get some players in, and we've had a couple go out. So I'm feeling good. I was very impressed by the way that they played against Sheffield United the other day. So if we can do that week in, week out this season, it'll be a good season for us. So I'm confident. I will have completely changed my mind come Christmas, and it'll be a shit show, I'm sure. But that's the life of being a Queen's Park Rangers supporter.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, I'm liking the optimism, lads. I'm liking the optimism.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
Just the last thing before we leave you then, I will just touch on fantasy football. I know, Matt, you say you tend not to get involved too much because things come up. Everyone's got a life, and so you forget after 2 or 3 weeks, which is what a lot of people do, to be fair. But if you're a complete nerd at it like me or Ben, there's you take it to a limit, to an extreme, really, I should say. So yeah, it was a interesting first game week. How did you do, Ben? You're top of our league, aren't you?
I am, yes. I am top of the paid league. I'm not top of our league. Big John Costa's the top of the non-paid Man v Fat Bournemouth and Pool League. He had a very good week, 83. I think he got something like that, 85 maybe. But I am top of the other league, 75 points. A good week. Yeah, quite pleased. I did tinker a little bit towards the end, but nothing too bad. I had pretty much the skeleton of my team. I think I changed 2 players right towards the end. So I was quite pleased. Yeah. No, you will. I mean, it's the first week, so come on. I think it's all pretty close, to be honest. I think there's probably only about 20 points between top and bottom, so it's nothing to be too proud of. But I will take the gloating just for 1 week only.
Yeah. Well, that will expand anyway. Yeah, I had a decent week. 70 points so not too bad. You know, most of the general assets that most of the engaged managers would have are done pretty well. Your Sakas, your Salas, your people like that do well. Isak, Haaland obviously scored even out of Haaland scored out of 0.1 xg or something. Something which is interesting. Trent had a good game. Pedro Porro scored, unbelievably.
They're brilliant.
And then you've got people like Eze got robbed of a free
goal
kick
and assist,
assist. Yeah, I know.
Upsetting.
So people like that, quite popular picks like that. So good start for those who We've done quite a bit of research, I would say,
Yeah.
overall. We've got a few things to take away. So Eze, as you said, was mainly unlucky, but he's not a bad pick, in particular.
No,
Jota's a good pick, I think.
Yep.
And if you don't have Salah, I'm not saying he'll cover Salah, but I'm assuming, Matt, you're going to tell me that he will play. You think he's going to play most games? I would have thought.
If he stays fit, that's always the question mark with Jota, is you only get him for 50% of the games.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
If he can have a season, there's certainly 15 goals in him, plus probably a similar number of assists.
He's playing him up top, though, isn't he? He's playing him as a striker.
Yeah, he's playing him in like the Firmino sort of role, of like a slightly withdrawn striker with Salah and Diaz off him. But I think he's the best finisher we've got, possibly even better than Salah.
Yeah.
He just seems to always pick up niggles and be out for 2 months with an issue.
You do have to keep your eye on him.
So I'm very glad I've got him in my fantasy team. I'll tell you, very good.
Yeah, me too.
So looking forward. Looking forward to the Brentford game this week. Then who have we got? Nkunku is a little worrying because mainly for minutes, not because he's a bad player all of a sudden. They actually think Chelsea were all right against City, actually.
Yeah, they weren't
it's
bad.
More just so I wouldn't sell Nkunku straight away, but he is more worrying for minutes, especially as now they've got João Felix in the door.
And that's it.
Who I don't know where he's going to play. I have no idea what we're going to do with him. Like, who knows anything about Chelsea at the moment?
No, that's the problem now, and it's a complete lottery. You just don't know. And again, there was something very funny from a Chelsea supporter saying at some point with the Chelsea squad, a fan is going to make a start for Chelsea this season, and no one will know. and they brought on a player towards the end, and everyone was like, "Who the hell is this dude?" No one even knows who he is. But it's funny. Nkunku's a difficult one because again, he's another player that's had a really good pre-season.
Yeah.
But you can't judge him in the first game against City because it's City,
keep him if you got him playing Wolves. It's funny, Maresca came out today or yesterday or something and said something about how people were moaning about how they got a massive squad, and he's just goes, "Oh no, we've only got 22 players. That's the only ones I care about. The other 15 or 20, they're put off aside." Yeah. And I'm just like, oh, okay, but which 15? Which 20? Like I don't know which 20. I don't know which 20 it is. So that'll be interesting. A lot of rumours about how Cole Palmer's going to fit in because it's a bit more of a structured team, so he's not going to have quite the same freedom. So we'll see about that. Quansah, by the way, subbed off at half time for tactical reasons. So he's a worry for me. I think he's basically not an option at fantasy football now because I imagine Konate will play.
He's going to be a cheap shout because Konate can't walk 5 yards without getting injured, and we're selling Gomez. So Quansah's probably
okay. Keep him in. There you go. You heard it here first.
Wait a week or so. A lot of people are selling him already because they heard that Arne Slot was very honest and said he pulled him for not winning enough duels. Well, not him specifically, but the team weren't winning enough duels.
Yeah, he didn't play well, but we don't have any other options besides Konate, who I said is made of balsa wood and Kleenex.
Okay. Straight from the mouth of a Liverpool fan there, I think.
I'm surprised you're selling Gomez. Where's that come from?
I'm surprised at that one as well. I think it's just because he's not the best on the ball, and Slot's very Dutch in his philosophy, isn't he? Of everyone's got to play football, and I think his weak links. But I'm surprised by that because
Gomez is, for me, is a brilliant utility sort of back. He could play anywhere in the back four.
Yeah, and he'll do it all day long.
Yeah,
I suspect that he maybe has had enough of it. Possibly he got hacked off going to the Euros and not getting anything in time with a single minute, did he?
No.
They had to watch people who he probably thought he should be above the pecking order get
maybe
game time.
Yeah.
Where's he going to go to then? Do you know? Has he already got a club or?
I was here in Newcastle when they can't get the guy from Palace.
Gahey. Oh, fair play.
It's funny because Palace have sold Joachim Andersen this week to Fulham.
Have they?
Apparently they're going to sell Gahey. They only need Newcastle need another 5 million. They can pull it out of their bag. I think he'll be going. So that's their two starting centre backs from Palace going. Who do you get then? So interesting.
That's tough for Palace. They're now a selling club though, aren't they, Palace? And if a bid comes in for Eze, he'll go as well.
Oh yeah.
imagine Eze, Elise, Joachim Anderson, and Gehi
Well,
going in
they're
the same
screwed
window.
then, aren't they? Yeah, they're screwed.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on there. Because
Look at all
AU's
that
going
money,
to go
though.
as well. AU's going to the championship somewhere, I want to say.
Yeah. Anyway, fantasy terms, I should say, Rodgers for Aston Villa. He's a good option. 85 million. He played 90 minutes, especially if he plays another 90 against Arsenal. He's a good option to have in fantasy, I think. Mbuemo for Brentford is going to be highly owned from game week 6.
You love him, don't you?
He's a darling of fantasy football, mate, because it's, you know what it is? It's because when Tony doesn't play, which he's not going to play basically at the moment, it seems like he's on penalties. He's really cheap every single time because Tony's still in that team.
Yeah.
And fantasy, whoever does the prices for fantasy football thinks, oh, Tony's going to play, therefore they don't put any consideration to Buemo's price. So if he's going to be the main, basically, if Brentford score at all, he's almost always involved.
Yeah.
So so it's him. So he's going to be highly owned from game week 6 when they have a run of really good fixtures. Munoz from Palace, who might be the only defender they have that's worth getting at this point, was practically a winger against Brentford, so he looked all right. And then Trent, we've mentioned Trent. He put over one XGI, so goal involvement, over one goal involvement, either assist or goal this weekend. He's miles above anyone else.
That really annoyed me though, because
really strange.
I had Trent in last season at the beginning of the season, and I had faith, and he did nothing for about 5 or 6 weeks.
I think he'll have a record season this year.
I didn't bother with him this season, and then I was instantly annoyed.
He's going to rip this season now just for that.
But I'm getting him in. He's coming in.
Yeah. And the last thing I've got is Arsenal defenders are great. And it's one of these things where you'll probably put one in a few weeks' time and leave them in your fantasy team all season because they just do not look like conceding ever.
And it could be any of them, to be fair. It'll be interesting to see on the left back situation as to who actually gets that spot.
I would pick Saliba or Gabriel for fantasy. Others.
Yeah, totally. I mean, White plays a lot though. It's the other side that's the difficult.
He's just more expensive, like 6 million for Saliba or Gabriel, and they can have those bullet headers. Might as well. They score a lot from set pieces. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for fantasy, and
love that.
Thanks for chipping in on that, Matt. Your Liverpool knowledge is coming very handy.
Yeah.
Or if it doesn't, don't blame me.
No, don't worry, you're fine. But thank you mainly for coming on the pod and talking to us about your weight loss journey so far, how you've done, how you've been, what you've been doing. It's amazing to hear, and long may it continue. Long may it continue. Definitely. So I'll have to have a word with Steve about those milestones, because I can't remember someone stacking up 2 milestones.
No, I don't know anyone scored 4 in a season. Certainly not our club. No one's ever scored 4 in one season ever. 3 obviously, but I don't know 4. Yeah. So there's a record there, mate.
Oh, see, now you make me want to do it.
I know. Sorry, buddy. I know you love a record. But it's been a pleasure, mate.
Steve said to me when I hit the 15, I think we worked out I had about 6 or 7 weeks to the end of the season, and I only had to lose about 6 kilos, 5 kilos, 6 kilos, something like that. And he said, "Oh, you can't do that." And we both looked at each other and sort of thought, "Well, actually, that's
you've laid down the gauntlet there, mate."
Then we probably will do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been amazing, mate. And thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Yeah. Cheers,
and chatting to us. We loved every second, and
it's been a long one. We've been gabbing, haven't we?
We have indeed, yes.
So this is where Josh goes, "Oh God, I'm going to have to edit half of this out because it's way too long."
No, not at all. It will not be touched. I trust. It never is with a guest. Literally every word Matt says will stay in, no matter what it is.
People are going to get 20 minutes in, and that's it. Your viewing figures are gone from that point on. No one's listening to this bit. We can say what we want now.
That's a good point, actually. Everyone's gone to bed, turned it off long ago.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Matt. We'll leave it there.
Buddy.
Thank you very much for coming on. Thanks, Ben. And
cheers,
good
mate.
to have you back, mate.
Lovely to be back, buddy. Thoroughly enjoyed it as always.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Steve. Thank you to Steve for filling in, by the way.
Yes.
It's lovely to hear his dulcet tones.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you to everyone else who listens at the moment. And if you can share it amongst the league, and anyone who's not part of the Bournemouth League specifically amongst your leagues, we'd very much appreciate it. And anyone who wishes to come on, in particular, who's not in the Bournemouth League, who's got a story to share, please get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
Definitely.
Thanks very much, lads.
Cheers, boys.
Speak to you
Take
soon.
care, and we'll see you Friday.